What's up, everyone, and welcome to That Game Rules, the worst gaming podcast on the internet, where every week our mission is to break down a retro game and all the pop culture that surrounds it. I'm your co-pilot, Scuba Steve. Thank you for checking in this week, and today it's once again time to kick the tires and light the fires, suit up and strap into that Arwing, because it's time we take a deep dive into Star Fox on the SNES. For a lot of kids like me who didn't have a computer, this game was our first foray into true 3D gaming in our living rooms. Graphics that were pushing that Super Nintendo beyond anything we'd seen before. Plus, we got a fun new cast of characters to top it off. And today we've got a few stops to make before we dive into this game. So let's get our briefing from General Pepper himself, and let's see what we're up to today. Objective 1. Go back in time, talk about our childhood, set the mood before we blow into that old cartridge. Objective 2, go over the vitals, the box art, the characters. We've got puppets, monkeys, frogs. We got levels to check out, music. We'll check out some comments and reviews and a whole bunch of other stuff. Objective number 3, give this game some awards. See if that game rules, and hit up Slippy with a little more friendly fire on our way out. Maybe a Nova Bomb. Email the show at thatgamerules@gmail.com. Tell me what games you want to talk about. It's just me, just a 40-something Midwest gamer dad with a beard. There's about 8,000 of us out there making content. I'm probably the worst. Just check out my website, thatgamerules.com. It's about as good as an old AOL, like MySpace quality website over there. All the socials as well, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok. Send me messages, comment over there as well. I just keep talking about games I like. If you want to talk about next person, send me a message, send me a comment. Whatever game after this episode, whatever game you want to talk about, I'll make that my next episode. Asterisk, depending on what game you're putting in there. What was that random game you had as a kid that nobody else did that you were playing? And was it Home Improvement for the Super Nintendo? Because that's my weird game. What have I been up to? I've got so much Star Fox info today, so let's try to breeze through this intro real quick. I actually had a nice fun weekend, a nice relaxing little Lego night with my teenage son last weekend. I've got that Mario Yoshi Lego set, like the big one with the turn crank thing my daughter got me for my birthday recently, so I was going to put that together. I also got the Lego set, the gingerbread AT-AT that was on back order. I got that one. That set it's got Darth Vader, he's got a little cup of cocoa, he's got a little candy cane lightsaber. So we had those sets, and we're like, we'll put some Lego together. And then he's like, let's put on a movie. I'm like, what? And he says, let's watch Spider-Man 2. And I'm like, the Tobey Maguire one? And he's like, yeah, that's supposed to be the best one, right? And I'm like, proud dad moment there.
You take special care of him. He's my special boy.
You're right. Spider-Man 2 is the best. But now let me go off on that pizza lady real quick. The lady who, Spider-Man's late with the pizzas, and this chick says she's not going to pay for them because of their stupid time guarantee. What does she care? The receptionist. She's paying out of the company money. What does she care if she's paying this money or not? She's got that don't tell mom the babysitter's dead petty cash right there in the drawer, I'm sure. Anyway, I hate that lady. Also, I don't have time, but shout out to Resident Evil Requiem. I want to play that so bad. All I see are these reels. It just came out as far as when I'm airing this episode. Looks like that thing's getting like 10s across the board. I can't wait to scream like a girl when I play that game. Let's get into some of my gaming memories real quick before we head back into 1993. I love this game. It rules, and I'll see you guys on the next one. No, really, though. I do like this game. It's our first baby steps into 3D at a time when that 2D art was like peaking on both the Super Nintendo and the Genesis. But we didn't care about graphics when it came to 3D. The robots in this game are just like 3D stick figures, and we're just like, yeah, check out the robots. Let's shoot them. And it would just be like this fun tech demo, but the Nintendo's got to do its thing, brings the charm with that colorful cast of characters, giving these guys personalities, along with that 90s attitude, thanks to Falco. He's like the Iceman to Fox's Maverick. Slippy can be Goose. You get it. So let's hop into that Arwing. Let's find us a wormhole. Let's travel back once again to that glorious year of 1993. Hit us up, Marty.
Have enough road to get up to 88.
Roads? Where we're going, we don't need
Welcome, listeners, back to 1993. We've got an educational time warp this year. We're going to put some knowledge in your brains. Our fake ad this week, as far as our fake sponsor today, it's a beefy time warp. So we'll skip it. We'll just get the nostalgic juices flowing with this little jingle here.
You are witnessing a new technology. The first and only game powered by the Super FX microchip. Why go to the next level when you can go light years beyond? You are Fox McCloud in Star Fox, only for the Super Nintendo Entertainment System.
All right, I'm so bad at this. Let's keep it going. Podcasting, that is. Life in general, maybe. Let's talk about some news from 1993. I said it's educational because we're not all just silly here. We're not all fun and games. It's time to learn some real history from the 90s, courtesy of these hard-hitting news publications. And I'm talking about the Weekly World News and the National Enquirer. These are all stories I would read standing in line while my mom was buying groceries. Some of the most famous, hard-hitting journalistic stories. We've got Bat Child found in cave, Mini Mermaid found in tuna sandwich, Where Baboon strikes again, Two-headed mom is pregnant, Man hatches from egg. Then we've got the first photos from heaven, and followed up with the exclusive first photos from hell. Although that turned out to be, I think, just New Jersey pictures. But these were the old magazines, no AI, and I'm talking primitive Photoshop, like cut and paste literally. You could probably see like the tape lines of these guys back then, cutting in pieces, putting like a bat head on a child and all these kind of things. That's where I was getting my news. So if you wonder why my brain is so warped, go read some of those classics. Everybody knows Bat Child. That's the one I see, boom, right there, Bat Child. We'll move on to some movies. I was watching lots of movies because some of these titles I burned through. I remember these in my VCR constantly. I'm talking about Dennis the Menace, featuring Walter Matthau and Christopher Lloyd. Both gentlemen who've looked like they're like 80 years old for as long as I can remember. And also shout out to that Dennis the Menace Super Nintendo game. Also Homeward Bound, that live action Animals featuring Chance, Shadow, and Sassy. Chance, of course, being voiced by none other than Michael J. Fox, making that Back to the Future connection to Christopher Lloyd, just mentioned him. Also, I believe this movie is why we named our cat Sassy way back in the day. That was Sally Field voicing Sassy, so shout out to that. I remember you, Sally Field. A shout out to Smokey and the Bandit. I know where you're coming from. And of course, the classic, The Sandlot.
You're killing me, Smalls.
When Squints pulls those moves at the public pool, genius. Chef's kiss. And for better or worse, we had Surf Ninjas, Mr. Nanny, and the abysmal TMNT 3. TMNT 3, you're right up there with like Mortal Kombat Annihilation as far as sequels that broke my heart. Except in this case, I actually like to hate watch Mortal Kombat Annihilation. You can shame me, internet. Go ahead. TV shows, let's show some love to some lesser known classics. Biker Mice from Mars, Mighty Max, Wienerville on Nickelodeon. Does anybody remember Wienerville? You send me a message. We got Beakman's World, bringing the knowledge, making education fun, along with guys like Bill Nye. And then, of course, over at PBS on our free channel for us poor folks, we had Sesame Street, of course, since like the 60s, I think. Barney and Friends, and a hidden gem over there. Again, teaching us kids, giving us some knowledge, titled Where on Earth is Carmen Sandiego?
Where on earth is Carmen Sandiego?
Tell me where is Carmen Sandiego?
Lots of iterations of her. We had Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego? Where on Earth? Where in Time? And internet, don't tell me that if I like that show, then I should like games like Mario is Missing or Mario's Time Machine, because the answer is I don't. But our final TV show teaching us kids some facts, teaching us some history. Shout out to Animaniacs.
United States, Canada, Mexico, Panama, Haiti, Jamaica, Peru, Republic, Dominican, Cuba, Caribbean, Greenland, El Salvador, too, Puerto Rico, Colombia, Venezuela, Honduras, Guyana, and still Guatemala, Bolivia, then Argentina, and Ecuador, Chile, Brazil, Costa Rica, Belize, Nicaragua, Bermuda, Bahamas, Tobago, San Juan, Paraguay, Uruguay.
I never learned that song, and I'm sorry, this not political over this podcast here at all, but I can't help but like hearing this song and picturing Trump with like a checklist, like, yes, I want that country, and I'll take that one, and I'll take that one. And I'm sorry, it's a weird state of the world out there, folks. Let's keep going. We're going to skip the toys because we're talking smarts here. It's an education-filled time warp, so let's check out some books that you need to read. If you haven't, just go pick them up the library. You won't look weird at all as an adult going to rent these out. If I wasn't reading Nintendo Power or my amazing Mario Choose Your Own Adventure books that I love so much, I was probably reading other stuff too. Granted, I was poor, so I had to like pretend to shop at those school book fairs, sneak out, go eat my free government lunch. Good times. But let's check out some of these books you might have seen at that book fair. If You Give a Mouse a Cookie, The Stinky Cheese Man and Other Fairly Stupid Tales, Where the Sidewalk Ends. Those drawings freak me out. Either that, maybe it's just the poetry that freaks me out. Not as terrifying as Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. And of course, one of my favorites, even though it's a show, we're going to shout out the Magic School Bus.
Seatbelts, everyone! Please let this be a normal field trip. With a friend? No way!
Cruising on down Main Street, you're relaxed and feeling good. Next thing that you know, you're seeing octopus in the neighborhood, surfing on a sound wave, swinging through the stars. Take a left at your intestine, take your second right past Mars.
See, I like that theme song, but now maybe I should have pulled like the Reading Rainbow or something. Let's throw that in a future time warp. Magic School Bus, if you remember that, those books, they go right in line with the TV show. And I always remember the one, do you remember where she turned the class into like salmon eggs? And then the salmon came and essentially splooged on the entire elementary class. So that was fun. But finally, in our book section, the Berenstain Bears, or the Berenstein Bears, depending on which multiverse you are currently occupying. Check out the Mandela Effect for more info on that. And video games. Before we get out of here, we all know Star Fox, or Star Wing for you folks across the pond. But what about Star Fox's little cousin, one of only 3 games to use that first version FX chip? And I'm talking about Stunt Race FX. I never played Vortex, that's the third one. Stunt Race FX, or Wild Tracks over in Japan, featuring a terrible frame rate and a shrunken screen to make up for those computer juices just flowing through that Super Nintendo. I don't know how computers work, but you could pick from 3 vehicles. You could do loop-de-loops. The car's headlights were eyeballs, and I don't remember much else, but I'd like to do that episode someday. Also, that monster truck in that game got a cameo in Mario RPG. Is in that box over there in Booster's Tower. But that's enough knowledge, folks, because now we're playing with power, super power, initiate box art maneuvers.
Now, I know you love video games, and I asked the clerk which is the one every boy wants. You got me! Oh, yeah!
All right, let's talk about some game vitals here. It's a weird day. I'm recording on a Monday. We had robotics competition all weekend. Excuse me. So here I am, called into work on a Monday. Don't tell anybody. And I'm here losing that overtime to come record a dumb podcast for you guys. So I hope you appreciate it. It's more fun than work. Game vitals. Let's talk about the box art of Star Fox 1993, developed by Nintendo for the Super Nintendo. And oh my, this box art, between the art here and the manual, I always wondered why it creeped me the hell out, because I'm like, that's a pretty detailed drawing on the cover. And no, it turns out they're real, actual puppets. They made real puppets with lifeless eyes, just black dead eyes like a doll's eyes.
You're killing me, Smalls.
Miyamoto created several puppets and photographed them to use as artwork for the cover of the Star Fox game. Now, I'm not sure if that statement means he literally created them or had them created, but I prefer the former. I like to picture Miyamoto making puppets, strolling through the woods, puppet on each hand, just full conversation. And these puppets still exist, apparently. They're in some Nintendo storage unit, probably under guard, like where they store the Ark in the Indiana Jones movies, and they are not in great shape either. And while we only have Star Fox on our North American cover here, the PAL cover over there, you got the whole team of puppets on your Starwing fancy cover over there in Europe. Miyamoto was a fan of the British puppet dramas such as Thunderbirds, so he wanted the game cover to feature puppets. He even had this little daydream that company, that UK show Thunderbirds, that they would see Star Fox and his puppets and approach Miyamoto and Nintendo and want to make a Star Fox TV show. That was like literally like a little daydream. I dream about winning the lottery and Miyamoto wants his puppet show. Like, give the man he'll get it later down the road. You'll see. Think Team America World Police when you're thinking of these things. They're so creepy. Like, if you stare at them, they stare back at you, like those posters you walk by and the eyes follow you. So now imagine we've got a great CG Mario movie. We've got a Zelda live action series coming. So next should obviously be the Star Fox puppet movie. Am I right? And I want like 90s Power Ranger vehicle fights. I want to see like the strings those Arwings are hanging off of. And that it all actually exists. They actually made puppet commercials for Star Fox Zero. Add that to your YouTube bucket list. Let's get into the history of a fox and his friends. Star Fox, known in the PAL region as Starwing, which just fries my brain whenever I see it, is the first installment of the Star Fox series. The game was co-developed by Nintendo and Argonaut Games and was originally released on the SNES in 1993. Those guys at Argonaut, they were inspired by the old 80s Star Wars arcade when they were developing this new chip. What started out as a tech demo blossomed into another hit franchise for Nintendo so that they can then neglect it decades later. Featuring then revolutionary 3D graphics due to the Super FX chip, Star Fox would set a standard for that rail shooting genre. Being the original game of the franchise, Star Fox introduces Fox McCloud and the Star Fox team on a mission to save the Lylat system from the evil clutches of Andross, and it was met with critical acclaim, sold over 4 million copies, and today is considered among the greatest games ever made.
Shut up and take my money!
High praise for this Top Gun ripoff, but I love a good origin story. Just wait till we get to the beach planet so Fox and Falco can play some slow motion volleyball. This title was originally intended to have a direct sequel in 1996, Star Fox 2, which would have introduced the now familiar concepts of walkers, all-range mode, and the rival Star Wolf team. However, the game ended up barrel rolling into oblivion, and we will touch on Star Fox 2 later in the episode. Let's get into development. Now you're playing with that superpower. Another story of Nintendo and their fractured relationships with developers. Is Nintendo just the equivalent of like an abusive spouse? Or maybe more of like a high school relationship? On again, off again, drama and drama. Let's check out Nintendo and Argonaut, and let's see where this relationship decided to fly off the rails. Nintendo worked closely with a company called Argonaut Software during the early years of the NES and Super NES. They developed a game prototype on the Nintendo, initially codenamed NES Glider, which was inspired by the earlier 8-bit Star Glider. They ported this prototype to the Super Nintendo with its very polygonal style. Programmer Jez San told Nintendo that this was as good as it could get unless they're allowed to design custom hardware to make the SNES better at processing 3D. And Nintendo apparently was like, all right, go ahead and cook, fam. Or maybe that's just a rough translation. But they got the go-ahead. San hired chip designers to make the Super FX chip, called the Mario chip at the time, and the first 3D graphics accelerator in a consumer product. The Super FX was so much more powerful than the Super NES standard processor that the development team joked that the SNES was just a box to hold the chip. And I'm trying to hold back my offense there, calling my boy the SNES just a box. It's a box of wonders. You shut up. Argonaut did did much of the base programming for the game's engine, while the character designs and artwork were mainly done in-house by Nintendo. Cue the red carpet, folks. The game's main design was done by Shigeru Miyamoto and Kasayu Iguchi. Characters were designed by Takayo Imamura. And the music was composed by Hajime Hirasawa. Nintendo suggested that arcade-style shooting element of the game, and Argonaut brought the idea of using spaceships. So it's all coming together. Miyamoto was ready for that true 3D game. He saw all the time being used to create those sprites needed for fake 3D games like F-Zero and Pilot Wings. And if you think about those, like every time those sprites rotate or turn slightly, it's a completely different sprite. They just have like 30 sprites in a row if you want that thing to rotate. It takes a lot more time to draw those, a lot of space to store all those sprites. And like think of the full rotation, like the character select screen in like Super Mario Kart where they're rotating. Like looks great, lots of individual sprites though, lots of data. So Miyamoto had to squash all the ideas coming out of the gate. Everyone's just chirping ideas at him about this game. He was adamant, build a game that works and is fun. The game was near 70% complete, just the game itself, when he was satisfied with the gameplay, and then they started to develop concepts like story and characters. He was also firm about the game being on rails to provide a better linear experience than trying to go for that whole open 3D areas. Not quite yet, anyway. And there goes Nintendo being Nintendo again, coming up with a new concept, a fun new mechanic, and then things like story, theme, characters. That's all just details to hash out later. And I think it goes to Nintendo's credit that they designed games from the gameplay outwards. Because at the end of the day, the game just has to be fun for somebody. Am I right?
Now we know.
And knowing is half the battle.
G.I. Joe!
Miyamoto cited the X-Wings from Star Wars as inspiration for the Arwings. He frequently visited the Fushimi Inari Tashi Shrine. It's about a 15-minute walk from the Nintendo corporate headquarters. And the Sanban Tori gates. They're inspired the idea of the gates that the player would need to pilot the ship through. Lots and lots of gates in a row, as well as spiritual animals, statues such as a fox at these parks, these shrines, these places he would go and walk to and just come up with these ideas. So once again, Miyamoto just goes for a walk, casually creates another legacy series and characters for decades to come. It's the same way he came up with the Zelda series, just walking around the woods and nature trails around his house. Of course, we love Star Wars over here at TGR, so it's good to know that Miyamoto is a fan, or at least knows of them over there. But if I'm thinking of like big gates right up in my head, I'm probably going to start thinking of like the Jurassic Park gates. That's where my brain goes. Miyamoto stated that he wanted the Star Fox series to star animal characters since he was not interested in making a series with conventional sci-fi stories with humans, robots, monsters, and superheroes. He felt like those were already everywhere. Those were all overplayed. He decided to use a fox as a main character since it reminded him of that Fushimi Shrine. Miyamoto explained that he had always planned to use the English word fox instead of the Japanese word kitsune. So I guess star kitsune doesn't roll off the tongue. I like that word though, kitsune. It reminds me of another platformer I played recently, Kays and the Wild Mass, I think. I don't know if it's like indie or what. I just found it at the library. That's where I find a lot of random games, Blockbuster style. Man, go to the library, see what cover is poking out at you, swoop it up. And that one's pretty cool. It's like very much obviously inspired with love from Donkey Kong Country, specifically Dixie Kong herself. The same way that character spins her bunny ears is how Dixie spins her hair. Anyways, back to the game. This one's hard, his name. Imumaro used Japanese folklore as an inspiration to add the bird and the hare, as well as two other protagonists. He also added the toad, but the inspiration from that came from a staff member from Nintendo who used a toad as his personal mascot. He also populated the Cornerian army with dogs, along with General Pepper and the enemy army with monkeys with a big baddie Andross, because apparently there's an expression in Japan about fighting like dogs and monkeys. I think over here it's more like dogs and cats, and then somewhere that turned into a raining like dogs and cats. But dogs and monkeys, that's the big thing in Japan. The game was also released under the title Starwing, like I mentioned, in Europe, due maybe to the similarity of the title Star Fox to the name of a German company, Starvox, with a V, or it's because of an old Atari game titled Star Fox. Discrepancies there. Either way, legal stuff, blah, blah, blah. Programmers Dylan Cuthbert and Giles Goddard recalled how when they moved to Kyoto to work in the Nintendo office, they were put in a room remotely located from the rest of Nintendo. As they were not full-time Nintendo employees, Nintendo did not want them to have access to confidential and secret projects that they were working on at the time.
It's a secret.
Shut up.
Just throw those guys in a closet over there. They also discussed how Miyamoto would come visit them frequently, providing advice and feedback in between puffs of a cigarette, which Miyamoto was a notorious chain smoker at the time. And I believe Walt Disney was also a notorious chain smoker. So I don't know what that says about creative geniuses, but smoking is gross, people. Let's talk about the release. This game debuted at the Consumer's Electronics Show. I missed those so much, the old CES. And that was in Vegas in January of 93. And it debuted with a cool, crisp $15 million for a marketing budget.
Well, excuse me, princess.
The game was released in the spring, quickly became a phenomenon. Before it was even released, pre-orders exceeded 1.7 million copies. In order to keep up with the pre-order demand, Nintendo shipped 1 million game cartridges on the game's opening weekend. Some dropped by parachutes to stores such as Sears. That's right, things were crazy in the 90s. Nintendo famously delivered launch copies of Star Fox via Star Fox branded parachutes to meet those record-breaking pre-order demands. These highly sought-after pieces of Star Fox history are still used for actual skydiving today. Nintendo just pulling a Red Dawn and just unloading Star Fox on the masses. To promote the game, Nintendo also created Star Fox-themed kiosks, which loosely resembled an Arwing, and sent them all to some Sears stores. A TV with a VCR stood next to the kiosk, and if one sat in a chair inside the kiosk, then it would rumble in response to the actions on screen. A very primitive rumble pack there, although it may have just been a guy standing behind you shaking your chair and you just didn't know. It's like, I did that to my kids when they were little, and they thought they were on a real roller coaster. So maybe that's how they did it. But the big promotion to land this game in our collective child minds, while also giving game collectors a cart to chase after for years, was the Great Star Fox Competition of 1993. On the weekend of April 30th to May 2nd, just one weekend in 1993, the Super Star Fox Weekend Competition took place at approximately 2,000 retail locations, including various stores such as Toys R Us, Electronics Boutique, Blockbuster Media Play, KB, probably Sears, probably Kmart. Competing on a special not-for-resale cart made specifically for these tournaments. Players were given 4 minutes to rack up the most points, so finally making that high score matter again. The cartridges feature a time-limited single-player mode on modified stages, as well as an exclusive bonus level. The altered startup screen also displays as official competition cartridge. So you're racking up points. Some of those points range from hitting an enemy, gets you 1 point, destroy a boss for 10,000 points, go through a ring is 1,000 points. If you have all your bombs remaining at the end of the level, you get 1,000 points each. Your shield bonus, if you have that, you get 8,000. And then your perfect bonus for getting 100% in a level, 20,000 points. So you're going to get as much as you can in 4 minutes. All competitors received a limited edition Star Fox pin, and those who accumulated a particularly high score received the Star Fox t-shirt as prizes. The winner of each store location got a nifty bomber jacket with the Nintendo logo on the front and the Super Star Fox Weekend logo on the back. The competitors who achieved the highest score at their respective locations were entered into a randomized grand drawing for a choice between all expenses paid trip to either London, Paris, Sydney, or Tokyo, or you can take the cash prize of $15,000. The grand prize winner opted for the cash prize. Always opting for the cash prize. I'd probably do the same. It's hard to say. But I really, really want to go to Japan. And not just because I'm like a Nintendo nut. I'm also addicted to claw machines. And I really want to check out some of them crazy-ass vending machines over there. Also, cultural and history stuff, too. After the original competition, a limited number of game cartridges created and used for the competition were sold through the Nintendo Power magazine with an original list price of $45. There were also yellow Star Fox aprons the employees wore, which are now a collector's item as well. So here are your current eBay standings for these kind of things. You got your jacket. I found one of those on eBay, $2,000. You can buy that right now. The carts, usually between $2,600 all the way up to $6,000 for these time-limited Star Fox carts. And then you got your pins ranging anywhere from $20 to $50, and I almost bought one of those. And then we've even got a prize letter. Someone's got 2 of their prize letters. They got that up for $560. I almost clicked that buy it now button on one of those pins. And that just goes to show, don't do that late night shopping on your phone. Do you ever wake up in the morning with some random Amazon order you don't remember placing? Instead, why don't you just put yourself to sleep at night with the soothing soundtrack of Star Fox? So let's talk about the music. The music is known to be great, but how about the sound effects, like the whooshing ships flying by, the explosions, the different laser blasts, teammates screaming at you for shooting them all the time? All of that adds to this dream of living out a Star Wars fantasy. There was also an original Star Fox soundtrack CD released in 1994. It contained tracks from each level in the game, and check out this album cover with a not at all badly translated important message. This is right on the cover of the CD. It says, quote, "The Lylat system, the planet group which take a position in almost center of the vast galaxy. All the creatures in here were living in blessed environment as envy as other around stars and enjoying the current of the comfortability times before he came into existence." End quote. Very ominous, very confusing. All the music was composed by Hajime Hirasawa, and it slaps. And we're going to listen to some more music right now, and then we're going to really get into this game. Let's do it. All right, let's get into this straight game chat here. I say that as I'm sure I'll randomly go off on other weird stuff. We're going to talk about the characters, we're going to talk about your wingmen, and we're going to get some descriptions straight out of the manual. We've got the main man, Fox McCloud. Fox is the young leader of the Star Fox team, always at the forefront of the team's attack. He's an aggressive fighter who often must rely on his skill to get his team out of trouble. Your skill will determine if his name goes down in space history as a champion of the people or a space rogue scoundrel. Catching some Han Solo vibes there. We've got Falco Lombardi. As a member of an avian race, Falco Lombardi is at home in the skies or in space, where his piloting skill exceeds even that of Fox McCloud. While his short temper may lead to arguments with Fox, the two remain fast friends and loyal allies when it comes to combat. Next up, we've got Peppy Hare. Peppy is the moderating force of the Star Fox team. His gentle character and wealth of knowledge make him an invaluable balance to the chaotic chemistry of the other Star Fox team members. His skill as a pilot is an added bonus. Finally, we got Slippy Toad down here, Slippy Frog Face. While Slippy may seem to be timid and passive at times, he always keeps a positive mindset about things. The scrapes he gets himself in may add some comic relief to the dangerous situations you find yourself in during your mission. His puppet is exceptionally creepy. But here's a small quote from Mr. Miyamoto regarding the choice for characters, because I find his brain so interesting. As always, I'll try to read his voice different than mine in the same way that the voice actor for the Nintendo Directs does. In 1993, he explained that Star Fox was at one time going to be considered a solo act. He says, quote, "The truth is, we didn't want to add any characters either, but the backstory had you flying with companion pilots, so we added them to the game with the same colored ship. Gradually we came to give them names one by one. The reason we added companion pilots, to put it simply, that flying with other ships is fun." He goes on to say, In order to show you yourself how you yourself were flying on screen, companions are needed. There's been lots of shooting games where the goal is to just beat the game, but as I thought about more ways to add a little bit more drama to the action, I realized that companions were a big part of that. When you beat Star Fox and watch the ending, I hope some players stop and think, my companions are gone, scattered to the corner of the cosmos. It's like now you have a memory of having accomplished something together, end quote. And I love that guy. I just think he's neat. Let's talk about the controls and whether to invert or not to invert. While still lacking that joystick that really makes for a good flying game, it still manages to make great use of those L and R buttons to flip and barrel roll. They encourage you to play with the controls before even starting your missions. They give you plenty of options right off the get. They even got a great training mode to master those skills. Star Fox is a rail shooter, like a roller coaster or like a dark carny ride with a third-person and first-person 3D perspective. You navigate Fox's Arwing through crazy environments while various baddies, spaceships, robots, space robots, sea creatures all try to take you out. Along the way, stock up on various power-ups, and at the end of each level, take out a boss using your imagination because it's hard to tell what they're supposed to be. At the beginning of the game, the player is given a choice of one of those 3 routes to take through the Lylat system. Each of these routes corresponds with a certain level of difficulty, has its own series of unique levels, providing additional challenge and replay value. In each level, the player is accompanied by 3 CPU wingmen, Peppy Hare, Slippy Toad, and Falco Lombardi. They can't be damaged in this game by your own lasers, although they will complain constantly if hit. But if a wingman does get shot down, he is out for the rest of the game. No tag backs. But while we're here, let's talk about that barrel roll real quick, or more properly referred to as an aileron roll. Pepe's, quote, do a barrel roll line has been a long-time pop culture catchphrase. However, the maneuver the players perform in Star Fox to reflect incoming enemy attacks is actually known as an aileron roll. The difference being that there is no discernible change in altitude when performing an aileron roll, but with a barrel roll, the aircraft makes a complete rotation along with both its longitudinal and lateral axes. Now you know.
Now we know.
And knowing is half the battle.
G.I. Joe!
Boy, I sure hope somebody got fired for that blunder. Although if you hear me try to pronounce it, aileron roll doesn't really roll off the tongue like barrel roll. But let's back up. Let's see what this battle is all about.
Hey, listen!
For the story, we'll keep it simple because things like, they get weird down that lore road of Star Fox. So a long time ago, in a galaxy called the Lylat system, everything is going great until mad Dr. Andross goes full evil, joining the ranks of other famous physicians such as Dr. Robotnik, Dr. Wily, but not Dr. Mario. He takes his degree seriously. So Andross, up to no good, gets booted off the planet by the council for doing some crazy experiments. He heads to Venom, feeling cute, might become an emperor later, I don't know. Turns Venom into a Death Star and starts taking over the neighboring planets and systems around Corneria, and so the epic war of the dogs and monkeys has kicked off.
You son of a bitch.
You and your Special Forces team are heading off to defend the galaxy in some brand new untested Arwings, and as far as Sergeant Pepper and his band is concerned, good luck. I won't get real deep into Star Fox lore, not yet anyway. We can do that in Star Fox 64, but I do know the lore has something to do with Fox's dad disappearing, and I know his dad is like reincarnated as a human in some future F-Zero game, I think. My monkey brain can only handle so much info every week, but we're here. We're locked in, as the kids say nowadays. You've Avengered assembled the team, chosen your path, and shot out of your base like a bullet. So let's talk gameplay. That first level opening is one of my favorites when we're on Corneria, maybe of all time, like at least as far as memorable, mind-blowing childhood gaming memories. It starts with that klaxon siren blaring, emergency warnings going off, and then the camera just zooms around as the ships take off and shoot out of that base. If you remember it like I do, I can hear it in my dreams, and now so can you. classic words coming out of that Super Nintendo, kind of. We'll talk about the weapons here. You got a couple of upgrades. You start with the Arwing's arsenal here. You start with the blaster. This laser cannon, equipped in the nose of the Arwing, fires a powerful laser beam. That's your single blaster there. You can upgrade to the twin blaster if you collect that upgrade. You've also got the Nova Bomb. Those are cool, giving that Star Wars Episode 2 vibes of the Jango Fett concussion bombs or whatever there. You've also got the power shield. If you get that booted up all the way, it turns into a cool wireframe looking thing. So at least you know you got your shield there. Also, beyond the twin blasters, you can upgrade one more time to like a plasma blaster looking thing. So you're gonna want at least the double blast. The twin blaster upgrade is pretty clutch. But let's talk about levels. We're gonna start down our easy middle path 1 here, and I'll just kind of see what I come up with on all these planets and levels here. We'll do some trivia in between and such. Starting off on Corneria, always the starter level, always get that great intro, but the level and bosses and therefore difficulty change depending on the path you take. A level so good you play it 3 times and you don't even care. Next up, you got your asteroid. That's your first battle in space. Gives you that first person in the cockpit perspective. Next up, Space Armada, space level where you fly into enemy ships, blow them up from the inside. Real cool use of the 3D with like the zooming into the ships. Even what is essentially Star Fox, like platforming, like the way you avoid walls and objects. I know it's not platforming, but it's the differences between this game, between you shooting enemies and then the environment where you've got to maneuver. Kind of turns into, 2 separate sides of the same coin there, culminating with an epic Return of the Jedi Death Star style boss fight. Shove a Nova Bomb up its tailpipe, fly on out of there, and it's cool as you're flying out of these ships, they're exploding too. You want that kind of action. Next, we got the Meteor. It's a dark level right on the Meteor surface. They got the mountains and terrain popping up quick. It's supposed to do that. It's supposed to kind of keep you on the edge there. You got to use those fox-like reflexes to get around those. Lots of big walker enemies around, like a beautiful use of like the 2D backgrounds. They got the sprite rotating backgrounds. They use that FX chip magic there as well to like rotate those pixels to give it some depth. And the boss here is a big spider walker thing, spins like a saw, shoots blades at you. But if you made it this far, we're on to the final level here. We're at Venom, and the last level will kind of break it down. It usually gives you your above the planet fight, and then your on the planet fight, and then your main boss fight. So you're fighting in space above the planet, and the enemy ships, it's cool, they're flying like up from the surface, you can tell. And then as you blow some of these ships up, you can actually see little pixel bad guys like flying out of the exploding ship, almost smacking you in the windshield. Your mini boss is like a robot centipede, trippy looking thing. Then you head on down to the surface. It's a barren hellscape. You got lightning going off. And then you've got the environment itself just getting chucked at your face. We're going to flip you. We're going to spin you. We're going to suck your eyeballs to the back of your skull. But finally, you make it down to the planet core, race to take on Andross, which is actually just a big polygon face with a weird monkey cube inside. They're doing what they can here, folks. But a good fight. He tries to like inhale you, spits cubes and stuff out at you. And of course, all these bosses give you the blinkies, the little blinking red and yellow lights everywhere, so you know where to shoot them. But even without those in this case, I'm pretty sure you'd think to know to shoot the eyes if there's a big face enemy in front of you. Pretty easy fight for version 1.0. We'll move on to 2.0. But first, let's talk about a couple of secret levels this game has. First, it's got the Space Graveyard, created by Andross's experiments. It's where your father vanished, Fox, according to General Pepper's briefing. And that is the awesome Black Hole, or simply Black Hole. It's a super secret stage, so go tell your friends about it.
It's a secret.
Shut up.
This area is not on a direct route, just like our other secret level. It is said to have been created by Andross's experiments and is the area where Fox McCloud's father was last seen. It's a weird, trippy level traveling through the wormhole of like an old Twilight Zone episode. But the end of that wormhole spits you out depending in like different areas, I guess. I mean, it's a strange level for sure, but not as strange as our next secret level. Out of this dimension is a strange location found outside of the known space of the Lylat system. Escape from this surreal level is impossible, and it is seen as the alternate ending for the game. And I think Star Fox got one of those magic mushrooms from his boy Mario. Things are getting real silly. We're getting a lot of those touch fuzzy, get dizzy vibes from Yoshi's Island there. Trippy background, trippy music. You got paper airplane enemies, scary Majora's Mask looking moons creeping up on you. And then your boss is a giant slot machine that can only be destroyed by hitting all sevens. Why not? And then you got to blast your way through the credits. You have to shoot the letters of the end. You just have to do weird stuff. The game will end after that. So just a fun little weird secret there. But let's go to Path 2. That's the higher one. Path 2, the upper room. We're going to get started at Corneria again. Another mission to defend the home base planet. But after that, we move on to Sector X, which is like a space fight above the planet. Lots of space debris there as well. But now we start to get to some planet levels that are kind of my favorite. We've got Titania, starts as an ice planet. The environment changes as you race through the level. It's got a cool robot boss thing that looks like you're chasing it down like a big space highway. And if you're like me, you're probably running into stuff a lot. So I love the detail of the wing damage. Like your physical wing is just gone. And then it's got the awesome Iron Man animation of like your wing pod flies up to give you some mid-flight repairs. And then, of course, the zoom out and dramatic crash and death animation is fun as well. I see that a lot. But it's cool. I like how the camera gets cinematic, and then you just see your Arwing just spiraling to its own little death there. That's always fun. Next up, Sector Y, another space level with an ocean theme. So it's cool. It's got like space jellyfish to avoid, interdimensional space whales, squids, all sorts of space sea critters with a big old stingray for your boss. Take that thing down with a vengeance. We haven't forgotten. Hashtag justice for Steve Irwin. Next up, Venom, back in the airspace. You're back to Venom, only harder. But this next level planet, or the planet level part of Venom, part 2, is really cool. It's like a highway thing. It's like a different surface battle here, like the real space highway, giving you some of them like speeder bike vibes and pod racing vibes, or maybe even like a space truckers type of thing. It's fun because you can kind of tell what's going on. And then once again, you make it to Andross, polygon face version 2.0. Just a harder boss this time. You rinse and repeat and shoot up that monkey cube. But before we finally get into our last path here, we're going to take a little trivia break. This was a fun episode because it's just one of those where there is just so much info for like every aspect. There was all the fun stuff at the beginning. I bet you didn't have, Star Fox carts getting parachuted on your Star Fox episode bingo card, or maybe not. But anyway, more fun trivia. Contrary to popular belief, Star Fox is not Nintendo's first ever 3D game. It as the Japan only title X on the Game Boy, predates it by 1 year in 1992. However, Star Fox is the first with polygonal graphics, but you should go look at that Game Boy game. This 3D, it can almost run, almost looks like kind of like Doom. Go check it out. I'll wait. Yeah, it's pretty crazy for a Game Boy game, am I right? There's tons of like weird builds like that. There's like an almost finished Resident Evil build, I think, for the GBA that's crazy as well. Like, keep those crazy ideas coming. Also, during the game's release, Nintendo teamed up with Kellogg's to develop and release a promotional Star Fox LCD Game Watch to those who bought boxes of cereals, sent in those order forms back to Kellogg's, received that Star Fox Game Watch for free, plus shipping and handling. You're not getting this thing Amazon primed. You're going to send some money and you're going to wait freaking 6 to 8 weeks. In the Game Watch, there are 4 levels, and the object is to fly towards an attack carrier and destroy it while dodging plasma balls and falling structures. The Game Watch also included a pair of earphones and a headphone jack due to the Game Watch missing a volume control. It's a smaller, maybe less crappy Tiger electronic you can wear on your wrist to really attract the ladies. Break out the fine china too, those Batman and Robin frosted mugs from McDonald's. Like, really though, I'm jealous. I want to watch. I sent out for a Game Boy Watch once. Wish I still had it. I did get it. Probably the only thing I ever sent out for. And waiting those 6 to 8 weeks felt like years. Before we move on, finally, we'll send some speedrunner love to Fling84, coming in at 22 minutes, 42 seconds, no warps, and reading interviews with him. The interesting thing is how he tries to shave time down just by reducing lag. And because the lag is so random, he just plays these levels over and over. And then he'll conclude that, like, flying to the left here, the left side of the screen versus the right side here will shave 1 to 2 seconds of lag, even though the same number of enemies are on screen and the same things are happening. So keep perfecting those runs, you speedrunners. I salute you. Let's move on to Path 3 now, the final countdown. We've got Corneria, definitely feeling like the hardest path here. The level's longer, the level's tougher, and then it's got a different boss. It's got this harder kind of tank boss at the end. I like the difference between like on-ground bosses and in-the-air bosses as well. I just like mixing that kind of stuff up. It's why I like/hate the WizPig race in Diddy Kong Racing, because you're just a little guy in a cart, and then he's just running, this big pig guy. I just like kind of the differences there. But next up, we've got the asteroid, another asteroid level. This one's got lots of hazard. It's got like a giant rock-crushing boss at the end. But then we move on to another planet, Fortuna. This is like an awesome Earth-like level where like the natural elements have been turned against you. Giant flowers and bugs, all looking like robots in their polygon beauty. You soar over oceans. You avoid Loch Ness monster-looking creatures. In order to do that, you gotta give them about tree fitty, and then they'll be out of your way. It's also got a cool Godzilla two-headed dragon Hydra looking boss thing at the end, I guess. Next up, Sector Z, and this is just like the galaxy's dumpster. It's just all space trash, just all in your face. Before we move on to another planet level of Macbeth, and if Titania is your ice level, then this is for sure the fire level, because we're heading straight into the hollow earth. You got volcanoes like firing you from all angles. There's volcanoes on the ceiling shooting down at you, volcanoes on the ground shooting up. Then we finally move on to our final Venom space battle here. You've got non-stop enemies. Then you've got like a transforming battleship boss at the end of this one. It's cool, like that boss is cool because you do this like kind of zoom in down, like you got to kind of go down the gauntlet on top of it. It almost looks like a Star Wars Star Destroyer type of thing. But then you get on the surface, the battleship boss thing returns, then he transforms into like a giant Z-Bot looking robot thing. But then of course you've got Polygon Face 3.0, only this time he transforms into like a scary demon dog face looking thing. But if you can make it through the FPS grinding, rectangles flying at you attacks, take out that giant monkey cube for good, claim your destiny, enough to even make your Fox dad proud. You just beat that game, making Dad proud for sure.
You take special care of him. He's my special boy.
We got more fun facts to check out before we get into some comments. What has the Star Fox team been up to? Let's talk about the legacy of this game. Although Star Fox is the first installment, it's frequently dismissed from like the main timeline, most likely due to being retconned by Star Fox 64. In an interview, Shigeru Miyamoto reaffirmed Star Fox 64 is a remake or a series reboot of the first game. The recap in Star Fox Assault's manual also ignores the original game and begins the series with Star Fox 64. The Japanese Star Fox Adventures website stated that the events of Star Fox and Star Fox 64 are two sides of the same coin, implying that they could directly coexist within the same timeline. Both games are references in Super Smash Bros. Series, even comparing Andross as two forms and suggesting that the SNES incarnation was not the real Andross. Cue the Star Fox multiverse. Make one of the universes all puppets, please.
Shut up and take my money.
Star Fox has become an established Nintendo franchise with more than 6 installments, numerous appearances by its characters in other media such as Smash Bros. And Starlink Battle for Atlas. Your favorite Fox even had a demo on the beloved Virtual Boy. That Virtual Boy just keeps coming up lately. Or the Migraine Machine, as I call it. Although lately Nintendo seems to have forgotten all about our furry, feathered, and cold-blooded heroes. Slippy's cold-blooded, right? Like in a biology sense, not like in a where's the bodies kind of vibe. Although Star Fox 2 was canceled, some of the ideas and gameplay were salvaged for 1997 Star Fox 64. That was released in Europe under the title Lylat Wars. I think that was the last Europe did before they went full Star Fox after that. Lawyers be damned. And then in 2002, Rare's Star Fox Adventures was released for the GameCube, and if you recall from the Diddy Kong Racing episode, that game's build came from a canceled Diddy Kong Racing sequel, and was Rare's last game with Nintendo before that Microsoft buyout. It was the first Star Fox game with that action-adventure element. The player acts as Fox McCloud on the world of Saria, also known as Dinosaur Planet, which then comes back to that game, that Dinosaur Planet game that Rare was working on. Anyway, a few more games like Star Fox Assault, Star Fox Command, and Star Fox Zero released. That one released in 2016 with its fabulous puppets, and we've just had nothing much since then. While the game was never re-released on any of the other older virtual consoles, it eventually saw a re-release via the Super NES Classic Edition alongside the formal release of the formerly canceled Star Fox 2, the game that almost was. Let's talk about this guy, Star Fox 2. Like the original Star Fox 2 pushed those graphical capabilities of the Super Nintendo with that Super FX chip there. Everybody returned to direct produce and program it. It's like just a bam, direct sequel. It's beefier. It's like added everything to it. It's like that, difference. It's like a Metroid to a Super Metroid. Like they just added on top of everything great about it. It introduces like semi-real-time gameplay, new ship types, new playable characters, and a more advanced 3D game engine. The story picks up right where you left off with Emperor Andross, who seeks to destroy the Lylat system. You got new characters like Mayu the Lynx and Faye the White Dog. It also introduces Star Wolf, the worthy adversary for Fox, and you've got an active map given like real-time strategy and a transforming ability to just hit select and it turns your ship into a walker. You're on the ground. All crazy to see on the SNES. I love all those little minis they released. I wish they would have done a 64 one and like a Dreamcast one, but I guess... I know at that point Nintendo went online with their 64. We might have got the 64 mini. But by 1995, 3D tech was advancing quickly and the 3D game market was expanding with competition from the PlayStation and Sega Saturn consoles. Concerned that the 16-bit graphics of Star Fox 2 would compare poorly against newer games, Nintendo canceled the release to prioritize its upcoming 64 console. And of course, the 64 game, Star Fox 64, used a lot of those concepts introduced in Star Fox 2, and I think it's pretty well established that Star Fox 64 is a reboot of the original, but Star Fox 2 is just such a good sequel, like I was saying, because it's just that literal 2.0. You just, no big new surprises, just made everything we like better. But Miyamoto had stated, after seeing the graphics on those competing systems on the PlayStation and the Saturn, that they wanted a clear line between their 2D and 3D gaming systems. So it's like they got to play with Star Fox, but by the time that tech was going out, new systems were out, and they're like, there's the line, it's Star Fox, or maybe Stunt Race FX, if that's the case. But yeah, they didn't want people looking at Star Fox 2 next to some Sega Saturn game. And it, wouldn't look good in that case. Star Fox 64 is a great game. We'll talk about that someday. In the years following, various prototype ROM images leaked online, and in 2017, Star Fox 2 was officially released for the first time as one of the 21 games included on that mini, and then finally in 2019 became available on the Nintendo Online services. And what a game to just stay buried for so many years. Are there any more lost treasures out there? A lot of these games are lost treasures to me because I only played the first level or two because I suck. So essentially, there's tons of games out there I've never played, or games that I did play that I only played 20% of that I'm interested to get back into. We're going to keep these games coming. But the reason Star Fox, the original one, skipped any of the Virtual Console stuff was believed to be due to fears of a lawsuit involving the copyrighted code from the now defunct Argonaut games. However, a Nintendo rep claimed that it was due to the Virtual Console just being unable to adequately emulate that Super FX chip, which was eventually made available on the online. So they must have figured that out when they went to the online. Anyway, finally, just to show even more love to Fox's legacy, the conception and development of Super Mario 64 was inspired by Miyamoto's experience working on Star Fox, a man who loves his work.
You take special care of him. He's my special boy.
You may have discerned that I still love this game, but what does the internet think? Let's see if anybody flies off the handle with this week's comments and awards.
Aren't you a little old for video games?
That man is playing Galaga. Thought we wouldn't notice, but we did.
Let's do all the things that you want to do.
Throw me a frickin' bone here. I'm the boss. Need the info.
I've lived in mortal terror that this would happen.
Get on with the ceremony.
All right, friends, let's see who's showing some love and who wants to just kick this fox to the curb. Paint Rain starts the conversation here saying, it's an important piece of history and I can appreciate playing it, but it's completely outclassed by the N64 masterpiece. It's not bad and I can see the charm of playing it because it is unique from 64. Some games on SNES will forever be gems, but Star Fox makes me just want to play Star Fox 64 again. End quote. Okay, I hear that. And that's like always the argument. Are old games even worth playing when there's newer ones? And it's like old and new are objective facts that nobody can argue based on time. But like what makes a new game better is pretty subjective. And I know nostalgia like sells and nostalgia is a hell of a drug for a lot of us. But then it's like, if you're such a fan of something, do you have to go back to then experience the beginning? Will that make your then opinion differ of the whole series? So it's a weird thing, but then Nupper84 chimes in with what I hope is sarcasm, saying, just admit you're bad at it. The SNES version is the best. Like Mario Kart, get good, end quote. And there's our get good of the internet conversation for you. But Cobra CB comes in with a heartfelt reply saying, games can still be important and not age well. Starwing was groundbreaking when it came out. It blew 12-year-old me's mind away that it was an SNES game and I got it for my birthday. But despite that nostalgia, I'd play the N64 version 9 times out of 10 if I went back to the franchise today. That doesn't take away from what the game was, and there's nothing wrong with liking it over the N64 version, but it's definitely not a better game. I'd argue the same with Mario Kart and Mario Kart 64. The nostalgia carries the SNES game, but the N64 game is better. Now, Mario 64, on the other hand, I'll fight anyone who says that's a better game than Super Mario World. Super Mario World is one of the greatest games of all time, end quote. So you've got a lot to break down there, Cobra, but you were matching kind of what I'm thinking there as far as like, you can't, your second option there where you're saying that, you can like a game more, but it doesn't make it a better game. I'm not even sure you can say that, because I think those two kind of go tied together. You can't tell somebody that even though they like Star Fox for Super Nintendo better than 64, that 64 is the better game. It's almost like I can see where you're saying that because I want to say it too. 64 is the better game. I like this one. Maybe I like this one better, but I mean, when you're talking differences in technology, that's just kind of how technology growth goes. So I think that's why there is, I know I'm rambling, but I think that's why there is a retro market beyond people who played these when they're young, because I know I've met them, younger kids, 20-year-olds that are making NES collections, playing all these games. So there's still an appeal there, and it's just 1,000% subjective. All our brains are so different. What do we find fun? And how does that then, correlate to a video game in that case? I'm not even making sense anymore. Let's keep going. Cooper Jeremiah says, aged like milk, very important early steps to 3D and deserves its flowers, but it's a rough replay, end quote. Same thing. That's being a little harsh as far as aged like milk. There's a lot of worse games. There's unplayable games out there as far as things that have aged, or unplayable in the sense that the programmers programmed them wrong that way, like whatever that computer version of Ninja Turtles was with a jump you couldn't make and just broke the game. So yes, it deserves its flowers. Yes, it can be a rough replay maybe. Moving on, Omega D says, one of the most fun PowerPoint presentations I've ever played, end quote.
You son of a bitch.
You know, as a kid who overused every slide dissolve, wipe away, and spiral I could ever find in PowerPoint, that's unfair. I don't know if it's unfair to PowerPoint or if it's unfair to Star Fox. So obviously fake here says, I played the absolute hell out of this game. I even thoroughly enjoyed Stunt Race FX. It's one of those games I love that if other people don't, I completely understand why, end quote. And now we're starting to make sense on at least you love these games, and I know why other people don't. It's just like I say with bad movies. I love Mortal Kombat Annihilation. You should not. You shouldn't love it. So I'm the same way with bad games, bad movies. The Christoph here says, I didn't love playing it, but I was enchanted by the design of the Arwings. My brother and I made a ton of Star Fox stuff out of Lego, and I like, end quote there. I like that because I like Lego, and I was just talking about how the imagination is gone. So it's like you didn't even like playing the Star Fox video game, but you like that, you like the design, you like those R-Wings, you're building stuff out of Lego. I agree, and it's one of those great things about the R-Wings design is that the technology forced this great design because it was like they had to be minimalistic. They had to, three sides of a triangle type of thing, and now we've got the R-Wings forever. And yeah, they're, Star Wars-like, I guess. They're unique. I can tell that's an R-Wing versus any other Star Wars ship if I see one. Next up, King John Almighty says, I love this game as a child and never made it to the end. That took coming back to as an adult. I still like it. It's honestly a great rail shooter that's quirky and fun. It's a unique experience and has that Nintendo charm. Star Fox, Donkey Kong Country, and Doom are what made the SNES one-up the Genesis to me. I had both systems and loved both for different reasons, but the SNES was the more capable machine. Off topic, but I think that whole conversation would have been different if Mortal Kombat for Super Nintendo hadn't been censored. End quote. More to unpack there. That's an interesting take as well. I had both Genesis and Super Nintendo, and honestly, even though I'm a certified Nintendo fanboy, I thought Genesis was the better system. I know they were both 16 bits, but I always in my head still think the Genesis looks better. I think the sounds were better, even though the SNES had the better music as far as the composers. All these kind of things still mixed together to make a great childhood for anyone who had either of these systems. You're labeling all those games. Doom ended up on the Super Nintendo was pretty clutch, and Donkey Kong Country, the way they had those computer rendered graphics, we're pretty above the Genesis as far as anything I can think of over there. But I feel like they were definitely, that's why we had console wars. These things were neck and neck as far as games and quality. But yeah, that censoring, turning the old blood to sweat on the old Super Nintendo and that might have been like, did that make Nintendo the kiddie system for the rest of its life or what? Final comment, though, coming from Biscuits33, and they say, one of my oldest memories, also one of the only SNES games my father ever played. I remember him sitting on the floor, looking up at our old Hitachi telly, completely absorbed by the game. The menu theme is engraved in my brain forever, I think, and that might be because I mainly played the training mode as a little kid. Played on my classic NES a few years ago, managed to finish the game. I love all those memories about parents, too. And parents gaming. There were my dads who played random stuff. My dad didn't. I mean, he would play around with stuff when I had it. I have that specific memory. I mean, he would do stuff for me. He wasn't a gamer, but it's like we went and rented the 64 when it came out from Blockbuster in that big old CIA briefcase, hooked it up. His mind was still blown watching that first 3D game, watching Mario jump out of that pipe. That's so specific that he had the biggest tube TV you can buy. He had a huge surround sound system, and we were playing that game on that big old TV. I can still see it in my brains. But that's a good comment. Great memories, everyone. Let's give Fox and Team some awards before we fly out of here. What an extra rambly episode today. Let's do some awards here. Award number 1, I'm All Out of Gum Award. It's going to be the favorite dialogue. Shout out to that intro alarm. Mix it in there with that scene of the Arwings flying down that launch tunnel. I'm not sure if I even understood what they were saying when I was young, but they were definitely words. And I believe it's, emergency. I think it says alien incoming aircraft or something, but it was like, even as a kid, you're like, I'm like, he's saying emergency. Next, Falco and all his chirping, from Bogey on my 6 to mind your own business, Fox. Sometimes I'd like to give Falco a little falcon punch, if you catch my drift. Don't ask for help. Tell me to mind my own business, you freaking bird. But the winner's gonna be, who doesn't love Slippy? All his annoying phrases, croak, help me, ribbit, I'm hit, and then the nonstop, hey, it's me, Slippy. Well, get out of my way, Frog. Move, Frog. Get out the way. Award number 2, Rainbow Road Award. I know he's a toad, but whatever. Rainbow Road Award, funnest level, and we're going to talk about the Space Armada. That's that space level, but it's really cool flying into all those enemy ships. You do like 3 or 4 of them, destroy them from within. And I really like the space trash levels kind of flying around. There's no real bad level. Those space trash ones, that's got the rotating beams. Again, not quite platforming, whatever flying platforming is, whatever that's called. When you're not shooting enemies, you're just avoiding stuff. So I do like the space levels, but I do prefer the planet levels. Planets like Titania, and it kind of ties with Macbeth. Maybe that ice world is kind of giving me those Shadows of the Empire, Hoth battle vibes. But it's cool. But my favorite level is going to go to Fortuna. It's got that environment. It's got the robot-looking nature stuff, which I love. I love how you end up flying over the ocean. You're like shooting up jets of water and stuff like that. And it's got that cool dragon, beast, boss-looking thing. So shout out there. Award number 3, the Cowabunga Award. We're just going to highlight our team here. Coming in at last is Falco. Yeah, he's everyone's favorite. But we don't need any more hot shots in the fleet, okay? His alpha bird mentality it's gonna cause some trouble, and plus he's a bully, and I was a nerd when I was a kid, and I was bullied a lot, and I don't like bullies. Number 3, Peppy. You're the cool-headed mentor guy trying to keep the team in line, but you bore me. Number 2, Slippy. I know I've been giving you crap this episode, but you are my spirit animal. You keep doing you, my friend. You flew right out of Corneria and right into my heart. But number 1 has to go to our leader, Fox McCloud. You're one cool fox, Mr. McCloud. Cooler than that Car Fox puppet. Maybe they were inspired from you guys way back in the day. If one thing Disney taught us, is that a fox and a hound could work together. So it's good to see Fox join in the dogfight there. But where it's time to rate this thing, we got to see if this game rules, if it's a rental, or if it should be retired, and we can let Fox just go open like a model plane store somewhere. So we've got gameplay, visuals, music and sound, and awesomeness. Gameplay, 9 out of 10. Our first leap into 3D, and it feels so good. The controls are tight. They feel right. I appreciate the on-the-rails gameplay. I like the mix of planets and space fights. You got a good story, characters, boss fights, everything that makes these games like shine in all their polygonal glory, and a perfect use of those L and R buttons for that tilt and that barrel roll. It just feels nice. Visuals, 9 out of 10. And I usually rank 64 games low, but so begins the N64 and PlayStation era of sacrificing looks for style, and that's okay. Our imaginations can fill in those gaps for us on this new 3D art style. I love the pixel explosions and the mix of like the colorful 2D images on the planets, the backgrounds, the teammate heads popping up, they're 2D, they look great. And shout out to that Nova bomb explosion, bringing those those Django Fett vibes. Music and sound, 9 out of 10. Yes, it's got lots of great iconic tracks, but the sounds are what's bringing it together for me. Those Star Wars laser sounds of space battle, constant alarm sounds going off because I'm running into stuff, and the beginning of like the weird, silly dialogue sounds as far as the characters that like come into games later, like Banjo-Kazooie and stuff. Like it's just the what is it, Charlie Brown type of like I like that kind of stuff. It's old cartoon stuff for me. And finally, awesomeness. We're gonna smack a 10 out of 10 on you. My mama once told me awesome is awesome does, and let me tell you, Star Fox does it. A brand new way to game, and we didn't even like have to beg our parents for a new system for. We could just get this game. Star Fox lived up to the hype. Now we just need that new Star Fox game, which brings me to, before we head into our final tally here, Wild Blue Skies. I don't think it's out yet. A spiritual successor to Star Fox on like a new system, and it looks crazy good. I believe a lot of the guys making it are like developers from Star Fox games and stuff. So Wild Blue Skies, keep an eye out for that one. But where are we? Does this game rule? 9.5 dead space monkeys means that game definitely rules. There was hype around this game, lots of hype. It was in the magazines, you had the tournaments going down, and we were 100% talking about this game on the playground. You don't lead the roster for a game like Smash Brothers without some experience under your belt, and Fox deserves that spot right up there with our other favorite Nintendo mascots, maybe even up there on that Nintendo Mount Rushmore. But unlike Star Fox, this podcast has been going off the rails all day. So let's wrap it up, attach this episode to a Nova bomb, and fling it into the nearest black hole. If you made it this far, you might be crazy like a fox, but I appreciate you. Thanks again for listening to this week's show. Hit me up, thatgamerules@gmail.com, or any of the socials if you want to chat. I hope everyone has a great week. May you all beat all the levels and find all the secrets. And until next week, watch out for any random dog and monkey fights. Those things scratch, those things bite. Just go make friends with a toad instead. Stay safe, everyone. I will see you guys on the next one.
You're killing me, Smalls.